Now, to discuss that story further, I'm joined by Gloria Estela La Riva, an activist and political commentator, joining me via Skype out of San Francisco. Gloria, thank you for joining the program. The first thing that I want to discuss with you is the word, quote unquote, accidental. How is it possible for a police officer who is trained not to know whether she is holding in her hands a real gun or a taser?
Exactly, but we have to get down to the fundamental problem. That man should never have been stopped. She stopped him, she claimed, because he had a little air freshener decal hanging from his rear view mirror. That is outrageous to put him in a dangerous situation. His mother was talking to him on the phone saying, give your phone to the police so she can see that you have insurance. But she immediately escalated it when he tried to sit back in his car. She pulled a weapon, whether it was a taser or a gun. When these police use taser, they use it over and over, and many people are killed by it. There was no excuse for any of this. He should never have been stopped. We are tired in this country, more and more people. This is why tonight there's marches in San Jose, California, in New York, in Atlanta, in Chicago, in Portland, Oregon, and the demonstrations are going to grow. I think people are sickened by what happened to this 20-year-old man.
This comes after the 11th day of the trial of Derek Chauvin for killing another African-American, George Floyd, that sparked massive protests across the country and especially in Minneapolis. How do you think this recent shooting will affect the future of protests there?
Well, I believe that it's Minneapolis or Los Angeles or New York City. Every police department in this country has the problem in that they are armed with heavy weapons, that they have the legal right in their in what the government has declared they can do to be suspicious of people, to stop black people. They're getting away with murder, and this is the problem: is there are between 1,000 to 1,500 people who are murdered every year by the police, and with the exception of 2, 3 maybe a year, they're not convicted. They enjoy impunity. And they keep making excuses like they felt afraid. But more and more people are being shot in the back because they run away, because they fear being killed by the police, and then they're shot in the back. That's cold-blooded murder. And it's an epidemic in the United States. The only reason that there was a case here in Oakland, you probably heard of Oscar Grant, a 22-year-old man on New Year's morning, 2009, and he was doing nothing, no weapons, nothing, and the police handcuffed him, laid him on his stomach. Johannes Meserly, the police, stood over him, straddled him, and shot him in the back, and claimed that he thought he had a taser. This is in the new excuse in the playbook of police murder. They say they're afraid, they saw a shiny object, they thought they had a gun, they thought they had a taser. It's intolerable. And only when people have been rebelling and protesting has there been any hope of any kind of justice. But the only justice that's real is to prevent these killings, to prevent the brutality.
So do you think with the continuation of the protests, despite the curfew that has been put in place, we're going to see a police reform enacted anytime soon?
It should have happened a long time ago. And after George Floyd was murdered in front of the eyes of millions of people around the world, and the trial is going on now, there was the demand to defund the police. And the police, the city of Minneapolis promised that the police would be reformed completely, they would be disbanded, a new force created. Nothing has happened. And so obviously, many more people have died since George Floyd in this year of pandemic, these 16 months. It is really intolerable. It might end up being that there's much more widespread rebellion until something substantial is done. I believe that the police have to be disarmed. I don't think they should have guns or tasers because they're trained that the people are the enemy. That's how they're trained. If you draw a gun, you have a right to shoot. If you shoot to kill.
Yeah.
Almost every person who is shot by the police is shot to death.
Thank you so much. That was Gloria Estela La Riva, an activist and political commentator, joining us via Skype out of San Francisco, the U.S.